Hey everyone, welcome to my beginning bike touring gear video. This last November, Sarah and I tried something new, bike touring. We went with our friends Tamra and Brennan. It was such a positive and transformative experience. I wanted to share with you how we did it and what you need to bring so that you can do it too. I'll cover everything we used on the trip along with some additional tips to help you make your dream tour into a life-changing experience.
All right, let's begin by talking about clothing. We didn't bring much, but I still think we did a fair job of balancing style with fashion. For myself, I brought a synthetic insulation hooded puffy, a rainproof shell jacket, a cotton long sleeve button-down shirt for looking normal at airport security, a sensible bike racing jersey I found at the thrift store, an avant-garde purple paisley shirt for promenading the Vegas Strip, a pair of nylon khaki pants, a pair of nylon shorts, synthetic long johns for cold nights, fleece gloves, wool beanie, baseball cap, sunglasses, and a little flair for my cinnamon. My advice is to wear stuff that makes you feel great. Bike touring isn't very technical, so let your freak flag fly and have fun with it. Okay, now that we've talked about clothing, let's move on to food. So on our trip, finding quality food was a huge challenge just due to the remote character of this route. We pedaled sometimes up to 120 miles, and one section was 3.5 days without food resupply. So it's a huge challenge, and there's a really simple solution. So let's talk about that now.
One last thing that was really helpful with cooking and taking care of miscellaneous items was this food bag right here. It's just a dry sack that we use. It's maybe 25 liters or so. And so this was really big and easy to just throw in all the odds and ends and anything that we couldn't fit in our panniers, we would just put it in this. So one of the things we brought with us to make sure that we had some sort of good food along the way were these backpacker pantry meals that come in two serving sizes, and I would say this is good for one person. We each carried 3 of these, so 6 total. Spaghetti and tomato sauce is definitely my favorite, and I would definitely recommend that. Also, Backpackers Pantry has a lot of really good vegetarian options, so I would highly consider them. Okay, so for our trip, we used an MSR pot and cook set. So we used 2 bowls in here, and this top lid is a nice little, so this top lid here is a nice little fry pan. And then inside we have the fuel canister. I used a butane fuel canister and paired with a MSR pocket rocket. And this is a really tiny stove, and it really folds in really nicely. It simmers really well and also cooks things extremely fast if you need to. As well, we had a pot grip for the 2 different pots, and then each of us had a spoon, fork, spatula combination right here. And these just make it so much easier than just having a single spork. I think it's well worth the wait. And then also too, they click together, so they stick together and store really tightly. And then lastly, just a basic lighter to light the stove. And then besides that, for slicing food and just kind of general camp use, I bring the Victorinox Ranger, what's it called? The Ranger Grip 74. Yeah, it's got a really nice, good sized blade. You can use it for pretty much anything. It holds an edge really well, and it has a nice lock to it, and you just release it by pressing that button. And then additionally,
Along with a lot of other features, it has a really nice pair of pliers. And what I really like about these is that they're really easy to use one-handed and still a really good, strong pair of pliers. It's not, you're not really compromising too much on strength. Okay, next thing to talk about is water gear. So water availability on our bike tour was a huge challenge, and I wouldn't say this is typically what you would bring on a normal bike tour, but we were in such a xeric and remote environment that we had to carry up to 20 liters of water with us between Sarah and myself, and we could have probably used a little bit more when it was really hot out. So the gear we used was a 6-liter MSR dromedary bag, and then a 4-liter MSR dromedary bag. And then in addition, we also had 2 3-liter MSR camelback style dromedaries as well. And then in addition to that, our final thing was each of us carried 2 just normal bike water bottles. So to carry all of this water, we had to get slightly creative, but it was still really easy. When we were fully loaded, I usually put a 6-liter dromedary hung on the shifting terminals on my handlebar, and that kind of balanced the bike out really nicely. And then I would put maybe the 4-liter next to my tent between the 2 back panniers, and then I would put one of the red 3-liter dromedaries just tucked into one of my side panniers. And that worked really well. It wasn't overly cumbersome or difficult to do, and I still had plenty of room for packing even more things if I needed to. All right, moving on from water, let's talk about the gear we used for shelter. We started out with a lightweight, just old 2-person backpacking tent from REI, and we've had for probably 10 years. And then for sleeping bags, we like to bring a lot more insulation than we think we'll need. So we brought 2 0-degree bags. Mine is the Ultra Lamina Zero by Mountain Hardware. And then I paired that with a Neo Air sleeping pad by Thermarest. And I think these are the best. I would highly recommend you get a Neo Air. Probably an X-Therm is probably the most insulative. And then also really important is a pillow, and we use the inflatable pillow that you see here. And on the back, it has a really nice strap to keep it from sliding off of your mattress. Okay, let's move on to our emergency gear and navigation section. So to start off with, we brought a bike maintenance kit that included some gloves to wear while I was working on the bike and didn't get my hands completely filthy. Also had a small container of chain lube. Then I had a pair of clever levers, which are used to open up the master link on your chain, and also can really useful for using as tire levers. And then I brought the Crank Brothers M19 multi-tool, which is a really robust, strong multi-tool. It's not a gimmick, extremely useful, and I use that as my primary tool at home as well. And then we brought a tire patch kit and 2 spare inner tubes, although I wish we'd brought 4, and a spare tire as well. Blowout could have been pretty catastrophic to the trip plan anyways if we had a tire blowout. And then as well, I brought a mini bike pump that I had mounted to the side of my bike. It was really accessible that way, and I highly recommend you do this. It's not a gimmick. It really helps you adjust the tire pressure, or if you have a slow leak, pump it up until you get to a place where you can change the tire. It's really useful for that. We use that, I don't even know how many times, probably 100 times. And then we had a first aid kit. I'm not going to go into what I have in mind. My advice is to only bring what you know how to use, and if you don't know how to use anything, I'd highly recommend you take a wilderness first responder course, especially if you're going into any remote areas, and you'll learn everything you need to know about putting a first aid kit together in that. I also brought an inReach Mini, a satellite communication device, so that when we were in areas without cell reception, if there was any kind of emergency, we'd still be able to call for help. And then lastly, I use Gaia GPS app on my phone to navigate in this terrain. It's got all kinds of topo layers and satellite view layers that made navigation really easy, even where there weren't roads. And it helped a lot for finding campsites as well. All right, let's now move on to my favorite section of the touring gear, the actual bike. So I chose a 1993 Cannondale M300 that I named Cinnamon. And Sarah has a 1995 Gary Fisher Marlin. And I got my bike for free, so I guess you could say the bike chose me. And Sarah got hers off of Craigslist for really cheap. We modified these bikes only slightly, putting a Dutch style handlebar on both of our bikes and equipped them with terminal shifters just because they tend to be more reliable. And then for our hand grips, we use Ergon, and they are extremely comfortable. We only had one real grip position on both of our handlebars, and even after 50 plus mile days and over 400 miles total, we didn't get any blisters or any numb fingers or anything like that. And then for my saddle, I chose the Brooks B17. And I wish I would have broken that in a little bit more beforehand, but it's definitely the most comfortable saddle I've ever had on a bike. So I would definitely recommend it. And then lastly, my panniers that I use to carry everything in are the Ortlieb back roller 25 liter panniers. These are extremely durable. I really like how waterproof they are, and they're, I don't know, I use them even for doing all my grocery runs at home, and they never seem to wear out. So I definitely think they're worth the money and peace of mind. Okay, so now you know all the gear we brought with us on our bike tour. We learned a lot from this amazing experience, but perhaps the most profound thing we gained from this was the self-knowledge we uncovered. We found out that we could cross vast distances, even through mountainous terrain, by simply using the strength from our bodies. I hope this video helps you prepare for your dream tour and gives you the confidence to try it yourself. Let me know what tour you're preparing for in the comments, and if this video helped you, please help my channel by liking this video and subscribing.